Happy Memorial Day weekend. There are 3 major movies coming out this weekend, and I'm seeing all 3 over the next 2 days. I just saw the last Rodeo, so let's talk about it. So this is from Angel Studios. This is their, I believe, 4th film they've released so far this year. Stars Neil McDonough and Michael T. Williams, aka Bubba from Forrest Gump, directed by John Avnet. Joe Wainwright is a father, a widow, and a former bull riding legend. He lives with his daughter Sally and grandson Cody. Well, Cody gets really sick and has to have a major operation within days, and insurance is not going to cover the entire thing. So he needs to figure out how to come up with the money and come up with it fast. Well, as it just so happens, there is the PBR Legends Rodeo in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he was invited as a former legend to come and participate in the competition. He's old, things aren't working the way they used to, and he hasn't been on a bull in years. But desperate time calls for desperate measures, and he's desperate. This is definitely a faith film, but it's not overt, it's not preachy. The lesson is just in the plot. It's there. This is more about, not relying on your own strength, your own will, your own abilities, but relying on God to get you through. And trusting that, in spite of the obstacles in front of you, He knows what He's doing. There are also lessons in this film about accountability and forgiveness, and a little bit of redemption, because what forced him to retire, it wasn't pretty. The movie's not perfect by any means. There's some acting issues, which kind of makes me wonder if some of the bull riders in this movie were actual real bull riders. I don't know anything about the sport. I've never been to a rodeo. It's a bucket list item. My mama's been, but I've never been. Speaking of the bull riding, I liked the camera work, a lot of first-person perspective in terms of, them being on the bulls and at times looking down and seeing. That was intense, and, I didn't know anything about the sport, but I understand, the goal is to stay on that thing for 8 seconds. That's a long 8 seconds. Again, this movie isn't, preachy, and bull riding is one of those sports that most people don't know anything about. So I love how they were able to explain the sport without, reading off a checklist. Throughout the plot, we're able to understand how this works, how they win, and so on and so forth. Neil McDonough is a treasure. I love his relationship with Angel Studios. He's been in several of their films over the last, 2-ish years. It's always a pleasure to see Michael T. Williams on screen. I don't care what he's doing. I'm just so happy. I always smile whenever I see him. They make a nice little team. They're very different. Mike Kelty's character is very, loose and easy, and Joe is kind of uptight. And it evolves a bit into a buddy comedy. That was interesting. Simple, easy plot, wholesome without being sugary sweet, not a typical Christian film. I appreciate that.